views expressed on the following program are those of the host, guest, and caller. They do not reflect the views of this network or streaming service. Tonight is going to be a great time as we have Joe with us tonight. Joe, welcome to the program.
Yeah, welcome.
Joe has had an interesting life. He started off as a maker of optics. He's also been to the Adirondacks, and he has Transcendental Meditation. So welcome to the program, Joe.
Yes, yeah, welcome.
Let's start with the optic business. What was that all about?
Oh, we did anything from holography to underwater cameras, cardboard cameras, underwater cardboard cameras. And we also did all the navigational equipment during the helicopter navigational stuff to go up and down with the helicopters in Vietnam. And we also did optics for the simulating dog fights and the link simulators. You know, they simulate the dog fights for the Air Force. We also did space flight, I suppose. We might have some lenses on the moon. I don't know. Anyway, it was a lot of fun making optics over the years. I started when I was 5 years old, and I sold my business when I was about 55 years old. And then I got out of the optical business.
What did you do after the optic business?
Well, tried to make love with my wife, but she didn't cooperate very much. No, she did cooperate, actually, when I think of it. And I was still working then. She was good. She was good to me. I can't complain.
Now, you've been to the Adirondacks, which you took a trip with me there, and I'm not sure, what was that, Blue Mountain we saw?
Oh, yeah, we went to Blue Mountain. That's the most popular climb in the Adirondacks, yeah.
But unfortunately, they wouldn't let us climb. Now, for our
who
listeners...
said they wouldn't let us climb? We climbed, didn't we?
Well, we tried to get up to so far, and they had it closed.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, the guy
Must
said
have
it
been
was
icy
or something.
Maybe it was icy, or was
It was probably foggy. It was
muddy, or what was it? Foggy?
I'm not sure. I can't recall.
I don't think anybody stopped us from going up. We just had to decide on our own. Was it too dangerous, or was it not?
Well, we never made it to the top, anyways.
Well, probably because of your dead ass.
I'm the best hiker in the world.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You're a good hiker, Wade. Don't let me kid you. You do better than I do right now, I'll tell you. But you're 30 years younger than I am.
For our listeners that are not here in New York, the Adirondacks is a chain of mountains that run. I don't think they're around here. I think the Catskills are around here.
Right. The Catskills are just southeast of here, and the Adirondacks are northeast of here.
Now, the mountains we saw, were mountains. Here around here, there's hills.
Yes, there are hills around here. These are the central hills of New York here.
But they're the end of the Catskills.
Well, they're the edge of the Catskills.
The
end.
The
very western edge of the Catskills.
And I think they run down into the Poconos in the Pennsylvania area.
Well, yes, more or less, yeah.
Now...
And the Endless Mountains, which are right here at the border of Pennsylvania and New York, the Endless Mountains.
Now...
When
we went up there, not only did we see bald eagle, the loon, we didn't see any moose, which they're popular for. We didn't see any bear, which I wish we did.
I've seen pictures of the moose. You know, they've got photographs in the newspaper. Local newspaper has photographs of the DEC, you know, anesthetizing a pretty good-sized moose. And,
now, what would they do that for? To get rid of the population?
Right in their lap, you know what I mean? Well, they're asleep.
What would they do? I don't think a moose would be dangerous, would it?
It's not so dangerous. They just want to keep track of the population, see what they got, you know?
Have you ever had moose? to eat?
No, I've never had.
I've never had moose. I've never had bear.
I don't think so. I've had bear, yeah.
What was bear like?
Well, I was a kid. I don't remember much about it. Probably kind of bitter. But it's tough. It could be kind of. It's not as good as beef. I don't think. Not as. I think it's a little stronger than beef or bear.
And I was told it's also fatty and stringy.
Yeah, it could be a little stringy and chewy. And yeah, stuff like that. Some of the wild game is if you get into the sinew or the tendons in the game and stuff, it gets kind of bitter and tangy and all. But when you clean it and butcher it, if you take all that out, you have pretty good flavor of venison.
I've had alligator, I've had zebra, I've had tiger, I've had, of course, beef,
yeah,
kangaroo.
You see these shows on the TV now about them hunting the alligators. Yeah.
I've had kangaroo.
Kangaroo?
Something they call speedies, which is actually, for our listeners, just chunks of meat, and they fancy it up. And they had kangaroo, and I asked the guy, I've always, when I try something, I like to try something that's not seasoned. And I told the guy, I go, do you have anything that's not seasoned? And he goes, we're just going to throw stuff on. So we had alligator. They didn't have any elk. They ran out. Kangaroo. And they had bison, which is buffalo. And so I got some. I said, I'll pay for it. I just don't want it seasoned. You're not eating beef. And you're not eating, when you eat alligator, you're not eating, it kind of looks like chicken almost.
Right.
But you're not, I could give it to you and say it was some turkey.
Yeah,
and you
right.
might say, okay, if it was seasoned. But this, I know I was not eating a normal type of meat. The kangaroo was, it wasn't fatty.
No, I wouldn't.
But it was meaty. You knew it was a good muscle of an animal.
Yeah, right.
The taste was a little, I don't know what it would taste like because I've never had anything like it.
Would you cut it into small chunks?
Well, yeah, it was Speedy style.
Oh.
But for our listeners, they might not know what Speedies are.
Right.
They're basically chunks of meat with a popular name around here.
Well, they marinate them. That's how they make them into Speedies. It's the marination is the reason they're called Speedies, partly because they're a special marination.
Well, all it is just chunks of meat.
Just chunks of meat. Lamb,
nothing,
chicken, pork.
Yeah. Alligator.
Yeah, it could be almost anything.
I don't think they've had venison Speedies.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I mean, you could make it, but I don't think that's popular.
I don't know.
Alligator was popular. The turkey Speedies were popular.
Where was this?
At our festival down there, the Speedy Fest. I've also had them up in Syracuse at the State Fair, our New York State Fair. They had different Speedies, and they were seasoned, and my daughter wanted to try the different Speedies. So we ordered just something with one of each in it, and it had the seasoned kangaroo.
Oh.
The seasoning took away from the real flavor. I'm glad I had it with no seasoning in it.
Right.
Which I think meat should not be seasoned. Right. I season meat, but I don't do it. I do it for more of a flavor.
Sometimes it tenderizes it, you know what I mean?
Well,
so
I like to taste meat. I don't want to taste the seasoning.
Yeah, I know.
If that's the case, I might as well just eat a fried bag of seasoning.
Right.
But some people don't. Now, chicken, if you go to a chicken barbecue, I don't mind it seasoned. But that kind of stuff, it is just me. Maybe it was because I was raised that way. Mm-hmm. Hamburgers and Sears sauce, and then my mom would put cheese on it. Remember back in the day when our parents really didn't go anything fancy for our meals?
I don't know. I ate pretty good when I was growing up. My father was catching fish every week.
So, what do you fish for?
Everything. Well, not everything, but
Don't make a mess over there.
bass, trout, pike, whatever the season was, you know.
Now, back then, did you need a license like you do now?
Sure. As far as I know, they always needed this license. You know, for at least for certain kinds of fish.
Well, I don't know. I think there's a universal license. And if you're wondering what we're eating salted peanuts. Planters salted peanuts. Got a whole bag of these things. Someone said that they were a good alternative to sugary and snacks here. So we're eating them now. Let's get on this. You've been hiking all your life. Where do you like to hike, and how do you hike? Is there a certain way you like to do it?
Well, I'd like to do it on something that's not too steep. Because, you know, I don't have the muscles or the technique for the real super steep. You know, I don't have the education to climb the walls and that stuff. I don't have the equipment or the know-how, you know. I mean, you can get hurt.
Well, doing I think cave dwelling is spelunking. I forgot what mountain climbing was. Well, yeah, I've tried that. You put some kind of chalk or this white powder on your hands, and you try climbing stuff. I didn't really like it because I always thought that I'd fall. It wasn't very high.
Well, you could fall.
And you gotta have a lot of upper arm strength, or you're gonna fall real bad.
Well, you gotta have a good way to hold on to the rock with your fingers and your toes and everything.
And here's the big question: what do you do when you get to the top? You gotta get back down.
You look around when you get to the top.
You gotta. Well, no, I meant when you get to the top. How do you get back down? You gotta climb back down?
No, that can be tough.
Or do they come and get you with a helicopter?
Oh, shit. Who's coming with a helicopter?
Well,
costs you money for that.
Well, is that part of the thing? Is that part of the...
Maybe it could be for some people, but I never did it.
Like when you climb Mount Everest.
Right.
Do they come and get you in a helicopter?
No, you got to climb back down.
So you got to hike back down, and then you got to camp back down, and all that stuff.
Hell, even when you die,
crazy.
they don't come get you.
So what
They
happened?
let you stay in a fucking crevasse, frozen.
So
they don't get you.
So there's dead people on Mount Everest, frozen in place.
Sure there is.
I thought maybe they'd wait till warmer weather and come and get you.
Well, they might if they want the body enough.
Or they burn you.
Burn you?
And cremate you.
I don't know.
Well, that's disgusting. There's bodies up there on there.
Mostly, if it's too dangerous to go down and get it, probably leave it there.
So if you fouled, they would just leave you?
Well, I mean, they could try to make a rescue effort, but why endanger somebody else's life just to pick up a dead body?
Well, I would think the family would want some closure
sure
on
they
it or
would.
something.
Good for them, then. Don't fucking send them up there in the first place. I'm not shitting you.
That's what I want to do.
These people think they can have anything they want.
What I want to do.
Just because they got money or just because they want to do it. That's ridiculous. Don't go up if you can't do it right.
What I want to do is I want to go up there on a helicopter and then stand at the top, take a photo or whatever, and then get back in the helicopter and go back down.
Oh,
I don't want to climb up there and camp. You've been camping with me.
Oh, yeah.
You know how bad it is.
Well, I don't know.
And we had an RV. Imagine if it was snowy in the middle of a tent.
Yeah, I know. I've been there.
So, let's talk about transcendental, however you say it, meditation.
Well, it helps you to recreate a silence in your brain.
Well, how did you get into it and why?
Because my wife, she says, if you don't learn TM, you ain't getting fucked.
Did she really?
She says, I'm not marrying you until you learn to meditate.
Oh, Jesus.
But I was getting sex long before I got married.
Wow. You were even with your cousin at one time, weren't you?
Oh, no, don't talk about my cousin. I don't want to embarrass her.
Uh-huh. But you were with her, right?
Hey, that's my own private business.
That's funny. That is hilarious. It's disgusting, but it's hilarious.
She's my kissing cousin. What are you going to say?
So,
The only cousin I got.
when you got into this, aside from your wife,
No, actually, I got into it because she wanted me to. And it's been good.
now do you
It's,
continue to do it?
Oh, sure I do. When I want silence.
So let's talk
When I
about
want my brain to go silent, I
let's talk
meditate.
about what meditation is for our listeners. What is First of all, how do you say it?
Well, it's transcending. The brain
Transcendental Meditation.
transcends from the relative to the absolute. That's why they call it transcendental meditation.
Now, what do you mean by relative and absolute?
Relative is the real world. It's the things we see, the things we can hear, the things that we can touch, the things that we can taste, the things that we can feel. These are all the things that you sense with your five senses. This is the relative world. And the earth, everything around you is a relative world. The absolute, that's the silent world. That's the world where there's nothing, almost. I mean, there's complete silence. So you transcend from the absolute. When you get down so deep into meditation, you transcend from the relative to the silence. And when you do that, the silences may only be there for a second, and then thoughts come in.
So you mean by silence, you mean an absolute no sound.
Silence, no sound.
And then what happens to all this hallucinating, floating and jumping?
Hallucinating. Oh, well, that's different. That's with the sutras. That's not necessarily transcendental meditation. Those are things you do while you're in the state of meditation. You meditate.
Because I've meditated, and it was kind of like having a weird trip.
Well, it can be, I imagine.
And I've also saw people that have done it with me said that I floated.
Well, you might have. You might be doing it. Mm-hmm.
And then I've heard of other people actually being able, like Buddhist monks and stuff, meditate. They can take their body in an astral form and go somewhere else.
I would say some of them probably can. There's people doing things that we don't all know about. I mean, somebody knows about it, but
Now, have you done any of that stuff?
no.
So
I've been in the room when my wife levitated, but I've never done
what was that like? What happened?
Well, it made my heartbeat go up. When she was going to lift off, my heartbeat went right up with hers.
No, I mean, what did she do actually? Like levitate?
Yes.
And stayed there?
No. She only came up in the air and then went back down.
And she actually, from a sitting position,
From
floated.
a sitting position, lifted up off the bed without even any work.
Now,
Well, she might have worked, but I don't know how it worked out because it was a mental technique and she just went up in the air.
so there's none. See, I'm kind of
Surprised
speechless
the
on this
living
because
shit
I
out
don't
of
know
me,
what.
'cause she spent a month learning how to do this, and she came home. All of a sudden, she's sitting on the bed beside me in a full lotus, and she goes, boom, boom,
So she
boom.
jumped.
Jumped right down the bed.
So there's not like a levitation where you actually float.
Well, not in floating. No, she didn't hover. But she lifted off that bed without hardly working.
Now, was it a trick she learned, like with her knees and muscles?
Not necessarily. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. It's a
Stuff like
mental-
that makes me awful skeptic because you can easily bend your knees and
Well,
pivot
they
your
say
stomach.
When a gymnast does it, they run out of breath. When a meditator does it, relaxed and effortless.
No.
It's effortless, Wade.
Yeah, but what I'm
and
saying...
when they do it, they get a big shitting grin on their face. It makes them so happy.
But
when you lift off, you release stress, and you just feel so good.
But what I'm saying, Joe, is that it's very easy for a person to use their back muscles,
well, Maharishi
their
said,
leg muscles.
Maharishi said, don't show this off as a special thing. It's mainly to release stress.
Yeah, but for my listeners who are thinking this is absolutely... something's up here.
Well, he felt
they may
that
be
if
more
enough
skeptic.
People, he felt
I
that
believe
if enough people were doing it, we could have world peace.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea. That's what we want. Is we want to start to do things according to natural law, and have world peace. This is why we do it. We don't do it to levitate, to show off. We do it to have peace. We do it to release stress so people get along. That's what we want.
Well, what I'm saying is,
and when a certain percentage of people in the world are doing it, we will have world peace.
Well, that's okay. Yes, we would love to have that. But what I'm saying is, our listeners.
It's for real, Wade. It's for real. This is not a game. This is not a game. This is a real thing that happens.
But I'm trying to explain to our listeners.
The square root of a certain percentage of the population has learned how to do the TM Cities program. It goes a long ways towards making for world peace because it releases a lot of stress in the world. That's what we're trying, to release stress.
But for a moment, let's explain this to our listeners. Your wife did not do anything with her leg muscles, her back muscles.
They might have flexed automatically. I have no idea, but it's a mental technique. You do it in your head.
So she didn't even know she was doing this.
Well, she knew she was doing that. Sure she did, but it just happened. All I know is it surprised the living shit out of me. She came home from the course. Cost me $3,000 for her to take that course.
Now, did you pay for it or did she pay for it?
I paid for it, and then she paid me back.
Oh.
Well, she paid me back one way or the other. I don't know exactly what to say about that. We were married, you know?
Yeah.
I took on her debts when we got married.
Now, this course is taught by who?
Well,
because our listeners may not... this is for our listeners. Who is this taught by? You? Her?
Well, originally it was taught by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
Okay.
And then he taught other people how to teach it.
And he was a...
He was a Hindu...
spiritual...
Hindu holy man.
Okay. And that's the picture...
He was a Vedantist.
That you have at your house over your fireplace.
One of the pictures.
Okay.
Well, one of them is his master and the other is Maharishi.
And that's the book you gave me to read as well. Remember the book you gave me about peace and all that stuff that you wanted me to see? You gave me a little bit about that. Now, let's go into this topic.
It's a different way of thinking than us Christians because they don't necessarily not believe in Jesus Christ. They probably do. But they also believe that there's the cosmos out there. And if we think of heaven and earth and that kind of stuff, in the Hindus, they think of the cosmos, the whole of creation, more or less.
And as a cosmos, you're talking about the universe.
The universe, yeah.
The whole big...
Beyond the universe.
Everything,
everything.
Everything, yeah. Now, this...
Well, cosmetic. You've heard of cosmos.
Now,
you've heard of cosmos before.
Is this the man that apparently had animals eat out of his hands in the jungle?
No, that's his master, Guru Dev.
Now, that's an interesting story.
Well, he lived in the jungle for 20 years. You would think he would get to know the animals. And he lived out there by himself for 20 years in the jungle.
And why did he do this?
Because he wanted to get in touch with God and with nature.
Did he ever accomplish what he wanted?
Sure he did.
He did.
And then after 20 years, he came and he sat in the seat of learning in northern India. 20 years we had to wait for him to come to sit in that seat.
Now, what is this seat?
That seat had been empty for 20 years. years.
So for our
or
listeners?
More. Nobody had taken that seat of learning in northern India.
So for our listeners tonight,
He was a great siddha. He was a great swami. He was a special man, Wade.
So for our listeners, let's explain what this is.
We called him Guru Dev for short, which means teacher of divinity or teacher Dev. Teacher Dev. He was like a god or like a divinity. He's a holy man.
Okay.
And he wasn't God. No, you make him similar to the Pope or somebody. The Pope is thought of as being kind of divine.
He's the head of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, well, this guy was more or less the head of the Hindu church or the Hindu.
Now, is there other people under him?
I don't know if they have a line of command, but there were 2 or 3 seats of learning in India. He sat in the northern seat of learning.
And the seat of learning is what? A big seat?
A place where people come for advice.
So he's basically sitting on a throne.
More or less.
Well, he's not sitting on a throne.
Well,
he's sitting Indian style and
on a big chair, and people come and ask him questions.
So anybody could sit in this seat. You, me, anybody.
Not necessarily. You have to have the respect of the people around you.
No, but I'm just saying it's a seat that anybody could sit in.
Oh, yeah. Nothing magical.
And they just happen to acknowledge that he is the one that should be doing it.
He is the one that should be doing it.
Okay.
Yes. He came out of the jungle after 20 years alone, and people knew how smart he was or how famous he was or whatever. They knew he was somebody special.
Now, when you say special, we mean...
He was a great holy man. He was one of the top holy men in the country. The politicians came to him for advice. When India was going from being a colony to being an independent country, then, Guru Dev played a big part in that because the politicians would come to him and ask him how to get along. When they left Great Britain, they had to almost fight them off, It's like having a revolution. They became an independent country.
And that's the history of India for our listeners tonight.
Great Britain ruled them.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they ruled over them. They just kind of said that it would take care of them and stuff.
Right. They were a colony of Great Britain.
Now, India has a long history of temples and beautiful things.
Oh, sure.
And if I'm not mistaken, even Buddha went to India. Jesus went to India.
Oh, sure they did.
And for our listeners, because what you're wondering here, you're probably thinking, that's kind of weird. He went out in the woods, but it's more to get to know yourself.
Right, exactly.
To get to know what the world is really there.
Right, exactly.
And some kind of, it's like the Native Americans have a spiritual journey.
Oh, sure they do. Same thing. We have many great holy men in the world, and he was one of them. So was Buddha. So was Jesus. They were all great holy men. Now Jesus apparently rose from the dead. So he was even more special.
He did. I believe he did. You believe he did.
Well, I don't know what I believe for sure, but
Well, you're a Christian. You're not an atheist here.
I'm not an atheist, no. Well, I believe in God. I don't necessarily believe that Jesus was the only way to God, but I do believe in God.
Now, how would our listeners get involved with this if they would like to be involved in this?
Well, they should call you up and say what they have to say.
No, is there a school you go to?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a program you got? Because your wife went to something.
We have a university out in Fairfield, Iowa, and you get taught by local TM teachers. They're all over the world.
Now, is it worth the $3,000? That's a lot of money.
It's not that much. It's $800, maybe $1,000.
So why did she pay so much money?
Because she had a sore neck. And when she learned to meditate, that pain went away. Because she relaxed more. got rid of the stress.
But why did it cost $3,000?
Because we wanted to keep the teaching pure.
Oh.
And to do that, you've got to teach people. And that takes time and effort. The main thing is to keep the teaching pure so that it stays the same from generation to generation to generation. We don't want to lose the knowledge. If we don't keep the teaching pure, it's going to get lost. You understand?
Yeah, I understand. I'm hoping my listeners understand it.
I mean, if you don't teach it the same over and over again, that knowledge gets lost in several generations and it's gone. I mean, look at Alibaba. He flew the magic carpet thousands of years ago. He was doing that way before our time. That knowledge was lost, so people don't do it anymore.
Well, almost 40
people. There's a few people that fly in this world. We've got pictures of them.
Almost 40% of our history is gone, Joe, because it's been forgotten.
Right, that's what happens.
The 60% that last, only 50% of what's left of our history will be found.
Right,
and 10% of that 50% will be understood. So we still have, out of 50%, we still have at least 30 to 35% that'll never be understood.
We may have ancient scrolls out there and texts yet that can reteach it. We can learn it back.
We've only gotten probably 15% of our entire, as you say, the cosmos, we understand.
Right.
15% is not a lot.
Oh, I don't even think it's that percent. Hey.
Well, with history and all this stuff,
right.
15% of our world is understood.
The infinitely large and the infinitely small. Things are either infinitely large or they're infinitely small.
Just to put this in perspective, we've only gotten to 50% of our ocean. Mm-hmm. And we've only done 20% of our land.
Right.
So, we 50...
don't even know this earth yet.
25% of the jungles is understood.
Right.
We understand more about a desert than we do a jungle.
Well, it's easier to get to.
Well, but 50% of our oceans,
right,
our jungles we can't get to. There's still stuff being found. People, tribes.
Sure there is.
We have people that erase history on purpose. They purposely destroy stuff. They purposely say falsehoods.
Well, you look at the cave drawings and all that.
But what happens if they're wrong? What happens if they're misdoing it?
There's no right and wrong necessarily.
Well, we have to trust that this person is going to tell us it's okay.
Philosophy is what you take. Philosophy is a study of wisdom. Wisdom is the study of truth. You study these things, okay? You take them up and you study them and you study them and you study them some more until you learn what they are.
Well, I'm not a philosopher.
Wisdom is a study of truth. Philosophy is a study of wisdom. You take these courses and you study and you write papers and you talk to other people, just like the great philosophers did in the Greek times. They sat and they talked day after day after day to each other until they learned something new.
Mm-hmm.
They philosophized. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And when they philosophize, they study about wisdom. And wisdom is a study of truth. What is the truth? How do we find the truth? We mull it over and over and over, and each time we do that, we learn more. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's history, and that's religion. Religion means binding back in Latin. Religo, binding back. That's all it means. Binding back. We bind back with books like the Bible and books like the Bhagavad Gita and the Dead Sea Scrolls, all these great texts that were written years ago, and then the spoken language through chanting that was used. They used chants before they had written language. They chanted the knowledge, and they carried it on from person to person. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
There was no written language years ago. I mean, the cavemen made drawings and pictures and stuff like that. So did the Indians. So did a lot of the things. But what did the original human beings do? You know, I mean, when they roamed the earth, how many were there? Were there 2?
Well, that's an interesting question, Joe. Our Bible says that Adam and Eve were 2 chosen. However, the Bible also speaks of that God made everything at once. So wouldn't he have made humans at once too? Everything was made.
I really don't know, Wade.
And then he took up dirt, basically,
Yes.
and made his own 2 for him.
Right. Oh, God.
Which they believe to be the Jewish people. So the rest of us, I don't know.
Right. Well,
But I have a feeling that there was more than 2. I have a feeling that...
Well, I believe in ecology or whatever they call it. I believe
evolution.
we started out evolution. Yeah, I believe we started out with viruses or bacteria.
So you're telling me that a
That's
monkey...
right on the PBS education.
So you're saying a monkey
Not
turned
a monkey,
into a human.
No, I'm saying a virus changed from a virus gradually to a mammal. Or
So
an
why aren't they
animal.
doing it now?
Doing what?
Why aren't viruses evolving now?
They are.
Where?
All around us.
Well, they're not turning into humans.
Well, not instantly, no, but they're viruses.
But for the last millions of years, we've never seen another virus turn into a human being.
No, they grow into plants and animals. I mean, they start out as plants, and then they change to animals. I mean,
How?
because plants are simpler than animals. You see what I mean? I mean, you have one-celled animals.
I'm
We've
going
had
to
them for
disagree
years.
with
The
you, Joe. I
amoeba
cannot.
and different parasites and all that. They're
Joe, I have to
one-celled
disagree
animals.
with you. I have
Well,
to.
you disagree because you don't know.
No, I'm disagreeing because I don't think I don't think that's true. I believe that we were all made at once.
Well, that's a fairy tale.
Everything was made at once.
Oh, that's a fairy tale, Wade.
No,
Jesus.
no, I don't believe it is.
That's what they call heaven and earth. I don't know if I believe that.
And I also believe, part of me believes, that we might have came from somewhere else.
No, it's got to evolve. You got to have evolution.
Well, if you think about it, the human's anatomy is different than any other animal.
But it had to evolve, Wade. It had to gradually
But what
get
happens
more
if
and
it's
more
not from Earth?
complicated.
What happens if the Earth
I
had
don't
it?
care where it's from.
And how do we have an appendix
It
and no other
doesn't
animal
have
does
to be
it?
from Earth. It could be from another planetary system. How do we know?
But how did that made?
Well, it's thousands of miles away, but that don't mean it can't come through outer space.
No, but how was that made? Something made it.
I don't know. I haven't been there.
So you
All I know is what I study about from the great books that are written and the great scholars that speak.
How many books have you read in your lifetime, Joe?
How many have I written?
Yes.
Read?
Yeah.
Oh, God knows, Wade.
How many have you written?
I haven't written very many of them. I wrote a paper on Karl Marx when I was in college.
And he was...
Because I wanted to learn about socialism and communism.
Okay.
And that's about the best paper I ever wrote. And aside from that, I just go skiing, Wade. That's what I like to do. Keeps me happy. Feel the snow and be in the mountains and be with the weather and everything. And be with my friends and have fun.
Let's take...
Love of a friend is the strongest love there is, Wade. And God is love. I mean, there's no question about it. God is love.
So let's take a break. We're going to take an advertisement break here. Or whatever kind of break you want to call it, folks. And when we come back, we'll talk about skiing. So, we'll be right back right after this.
If I stay on the res, I'll be 8 times less likely to drop out of college.
If I stay on the res,
I won't be just another number.
I can learn biology in my native language.
I can use my education to help my people.
If I stay on the res,
I'll be more likely to transfer to a university.
6 times more likely.
If I stay on the res.
There's a 9 in 10 chance I'll finish college.
And I will finish college.
I will learn about the old ways so my culture will live on.
I will make my parents proud.
I'll make my people proud.
Our history will not be forgotten.
If I stay on the res.
I can get a quality education.
At a tribal college.
At a tribal college.
If I stay on the res.
If I stay on the res.
If I stay on the res.
Learn more about the 33 tribal colleges and how they're helping Native American people and their reservations. The American Indian College Fund, educating the mind and spirit.
7 million children suffer from asthma, more than any other chronic disease. Most asthma attacks are caused by allergic reactions to allergens, including those left behind by cockroaches and mice. In fact, 82% of U.S. households contain mouse allergens, and cockroaches are found in up to 98% of urban homes. How can you protect your family? Find out at pestworld.org. A message from the National Pest Management Association and the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology.
Learn that when he pollutes the air and the water, he declares war against nature. American International Pictures presents Frogs, the story of the day nature strikes back. It was bound to happen, but why now? Why did these particular people on that particular island face this particular kind of slithering, slimy terror? See Frogs, starring Ray Milland, Sam Elliott, Joan Van Ark, Adam Rourke, and Judy Pace. Frogs, an American international picture, in color, rated PG. Frogs, today the pond, tomorrow the world.
And again, the music doesn't play as we come off the break. Welcome back, folks, and if you want to, you can go up to my website at www.imbrotherwade.com. My email, if you want to write to me, cwlawrence01@gmail.com. And the call-in number for our show is 607-238-3816. We're back here again with Joe. And I promised we would talk about skiing. We talked a little bit about skiing on the break, and my one question is, you took me skiing, and I did horribly.
Well, it was your first time out.
Well, I did horribly. It's in the snow. It was cold. It was during a snowstorm.
Right, and it was very icy.
How?
It was frozen snow, frozen wet snow.
So how did you get into skiing?
Well, I was 12 years old. My friend knew my brother had some skis that he let me use, and my friend took me to a dike, a nearby dike, and we skied down the bank of the dike, and he tried to teach me how to turn. And then my father came to pick me up, and he told me about Greek Peak, and my father immediately took us both up to Greek Peak, and we skied together. I rode on my first ski lift. I'd never been on a ski lift. And then we started coming every weekend to Greek Peak.
Now, was it different back then than it is today?
Oh, yeah, much simpler. There's only 3 trails back then. Now there's about 30.
And what does that mean? The ways to go, like the Bunny Hill?
The ways to know, yeah.
How big is it now compared to then?
Oh, it's about probably 4 or 5 times as big now as it was then.
And there was another skiing place up here by us here.
Right.
In Binghamton.
Right. Yeah,
now, for our listeners, skiing is when you put skis on, basically thin sheets of metal.
Right.
And you have poles next to you.
Right.
And you try to do something with them and not fall down like I did.
Right. You try to slide on.
You took me up a hill.
Yeah, a very small hill.
And embarrassed me in front of everybody by telling me to go down it.
I didn't embarrass you. You embarrassed yourself.
Well, I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, I can't help that.
And then some guy or kid, basically,
a ski instructor, probably,
said it was part of the deal we signed up for to take me out and show me stuff, so we did.
So he probably...
Or he did it out of the kindness of his heart because he felt sorry for me.
No, he's working. He's a professional. He works there.
Which his question was, why did your dad bring you out into this snowstorm to teach you today?
Your dad?
And I explained,
he thought I was his dad.
Yeah. I said, that's not my father. And I don't know why he brought us out here today. He said, well, we'll try our very best, but in this condition, I don't know where you're going to go.
Right. It was tough conditions.
And my problem was...
frozen wet snow. It froze
my
hard
problem
as a
was
rock.
You have boots on that are connected to these skis, so you can't get up.
Well, you can't get up if you're too damn fat.
Well, no, that's not the...
No, yes, that is the problem. You're too heavy, Wade.
Well...
If you weren't so goddamn heavy, you'd have been able to get up. I have the same problem myself today. I have to take a ski off to get up, and I've been skiing for 70 years almost.
Well, I couldn't get up even if I took them off because I'd slide on that ice and go right back down.
Because it was slippery and hard. Hard.
So how would somebody learn how to do this? Soft, packy, snowman snow?
That would be better, yes.
So why didn't you take us up then?
Well, because we wanted to go that night, and I had your attention. I thought maybe you'd do it. Up till then, I couldn't get you to do it. You were too busy.
And our poor friend Josh also suffered humiliations of falling down.
Well, he knew how to ski. He didn't suffer very much.
Well,
he'd done it before, I think. Hell, he did better than you did. But he's younger than you are.
He claims
And
that I fell down all the time. I did not.
He's smaller than you are. He's not as big as you are.
He claims I fell down all the time. I did not.
No, you did not.
I bet you if
You just
as I
went
eat
down
more of these,
once and you had a hard time getting
as
back
I eat
up.
more of these planted salted peanuts here and
Right.
chew into the microphone,
Right.
I bet you if I had more of an interest in it, I would have done better.
Oh, well, you got to spend more time at it. You can't expect to learn in 2 minutes.
I just don't have an interest in being out in the cold and doing something.
Well, then put some fucking clothes on.
Well,
Instead of going out in the nude.
I wasn't out in the nude. I was pretty, lawn johns on, and
Yeah, well, then you should have been
everybody
all
else
right.
was looking like snowmen out there and Eskimos, and I
right.
just had jackets
That's
on
right,
and pants
yeah.
on and
well,
lawn johns.
You're a caveman. You don't need many clothes.
Now, for our listeners, how do they get in this game?
Well,
How much is this stuff?
Well, it depends. We started out with the real Army and Navy equipment. Army surplus, what I started out with.
Back in the day, that was the store to go to.
Well, it's the cheapest.
It had
It
everything.
was like going to the Salvation Army.
Well, no, the Army and Navy specialized, for the people who may not know, in Army, I guess Army stuff for the public, or military
right.
stuff for the
It was
public,
a surplus.
and Boy Scout stuff.
Surplus.
I
Army
remember buying
surplus.
jeans and boots there. I remember getting sports equipment for
Oh,
school.
yeah, this is stuff that was left over.
And he
from
retired.
Navy production.
The guy locally here actually retired. He was done.
All right.
He sold everything in the store he possibly could sell.
Right,
And he
Bernie's, right?
retired. Bernie's Army and Navy.
Sure. Before that, we had Dick's Army and Navy. He's the one that started Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's
Yeah,
was an
we have
Army
the
and
ori-
Navy store.
We have the original, from what I've been told anyways, we have the original Dick's Sporting Goods store.
My father loaned Dick money to run that sporting goods store. And he went fishing with him. They had a ball. Dick would take him in his plane, and they'd go up to the Adirondacks together. Dick had a plane. Dick had a air pilot's license. And they fished together. They had a ball. Well, my father knew his way around the Adirondacks. That helped, and so did Dick, probably.
Yeah.
And they wanted each other's company, so they went up together. Dick had a plane, so he could drop him off in remote areas and where you couldn't drive in,
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice. I don't know where Dick got the money for the plane, but someplace he wanted to fly, so he bought an airplane, or he rented an airplane or something. We had an airport here in Shenango Bridge.
Where was
small
that?
planes.
Where was that airport?
It's right there today,
Where?
right in Shenango Bridge. The grass field where you fly airplanes in and out.
Well, I know we have one out in...
It's on the airport ride, Airport Road in Shenango Bridge.
You're going to have to take me up there. I've never heard of it in my life.
We'll go out and watch some planes take off and land.
And now, folks, Joe here lives in my area. He's been a good friend of mine for a long time. And what we're talking about is we
A
have
long time. I've known
regional.
you 4 years. That's not a long time.
It is a long time.
Too long. Right.
And in those 4 years, we probably had a lifetime of adventures together.
Oh, we have. We went to New York City one day together.
On a random... We never got off the highway, though, unfortunately.
We never got off the highway. We never got out of the truck, let's put it that way.
Yeah, we never, got into the city. Well, thank God, because we would have never probably made it out.
We got into the city by truck. We went right by the Bronx Zoo, and we went on some of the parkways.
Well, that was still a highway system. It wasn't like the actual streets.
No, we didn't go down Broadway or Fifth Avenue, I don't think. We might have.
I think we went by it on that big highway system they have there.
Yeah.
But we went under a tunnel. We went over a bridge.
Yeah, right.
we went by a few precincts, a bus, a garbage truck
Oh, God.
area full of
It's
garbage trucks
interesting when
for
you
miles.
go by these cars that are sitting beside the road and they've all been stripped down. No wheels on them, no nothing. They're sitting up on,
that's what I was
sitting
afraid
up
of.
on rims, and everybody steals all the parts off them.
And you never see
You don't
anybody.
want to break down by these highways because they'll strip your car right down to nothing.
And you never see anybody walking with tires or doors or anything. So they got to do it at night or something.
I don't know when they do it, but they strip them.
And the best part, and the good part, not maybe the best part of that trip was that whatever we saw
We got in traffic. That's right.
was something that we didn't see around here. It wasn't like boring stuff. It was unique things, like a whole, I swear to God, it was 2 football fields full of buses, transit buses. We saw a whole football field literally of garbage trucks. And like a parking lots of garbage trucks. Like it was the municipal parking lot for all the trucks. We saw another, like the size of maybe a Walmart shopping plaza full of fire trucks and ambulances just parked.
You did?
Yeah. And then we saw a police. We saw a police precinct with police cars. A whole parking lot full of police cars. Now, I would imagine in a big city you'd have to see this stuff. You'd have to have this stuff, or you can't survive.
Sure.
But to me,
New York City's got 10 to 12 million people in it.
but to me being,
Binghamton has 400,000.
yeah, but for me being, and from a small city, which we are in a big, small city, of Broome County, Tioga County, Delaware County, Cortland County, I think, is the next one off on the other side of us. Susquehanna County going towards PA. In my area, we don't see any of that stuff. Because I drove into New York City once when I did cab driving. And it was alarming to I was shocked at what I saw. Ice cream trucks on every corner. Big police vans. Like what we have SWAT units here. Were just sitting around. Buses that were in 3 different sections. Getting on the highway was 4 or 5 lanes wide. Like you said, cars stripped of just frames left on the side of the road. Why would you do, number one, why would you do that?
Because you want it.
Well, but it's somebody else's property. Leave it the heck alone.
Fucking bad. They left it beside the road. It's all mine. Anything goes, Wade, in the city.
Wow, that's kind of not polite. You're stealing. You're robbing somebody of their property.
The way people think.
Either that or I'm a goody-goody here.
Goody, yeah.
But what are you going to do with that stuff? Hock it? Use it?
Yeah, hock it.
So garages go out and get parts from broken down vehicles. That's just alarming to me.
Well, they don't always go by the law. And the law can't keep up with them anyway. Enforcement branch can't keep up with the amount of criminal activity that's going on.
That's just alarming to me.
People don't necessarily think it's that wrong. Look what it must be like over in India and China, where you got 2.25 billion people in one country. You know what New York City is? 10 million. Do you know how many millions there are in a billion? Hundreds and hundreds of millions or more in a billion. And what's in a trillion?
More billions.
More billions. But actually the population of the world is only, I think, 4.5 billion. Okay? It's not a trillion. But the money we spend is trillions. Can you imagine what $1 trillion is?
Well, that's a whole nother topic in itself.
Yeah. We better stay away from that one. we'll be into politics before we know it. We get into the trillions.
Well, Joe, time is winding down here, so thank you for coming.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this talk. I would like to have you on again in the future. Joe is a good friend of ours. Folks, if you want to get in touch, our website is
Talks my game.
That's right. You can talk about anything with you, Joe.
Well, I enjoy talking.
So
I'm not the smartest guy on earth, but I enjoy talking.
Well, my website is www.iambrotherwade.com. My email, cwlawrence01@gmail.com. Our phone number here is 607-238-3816. Joe, again, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.